I won't go into the brief. Let me just walk you through a brief history of urbanization. Okay, so we started seeing urbanism in the world sometime in the 5th and 6th century BC, when mankind went from a nomadic existence to starting, when human race started practicing agriculture. When they started practicing agriculture, they had to live in one place. And as they lived in one place, some people were needed to defend the fields, some people were needed to cultivate the fields, and when people produced agricultural products, there was surplus things created. There was surplus of wheat, surplus of corn. Prior to when human beings had a nomadic existence, there was no surplus of agricultural products. So when they discovered agriculture, they started living in one place, surplus started being produced, and that created the need for multiple kinds of functions. Someone to protect the harvest when it was harvested, someone to protect the fields while the crops were grown. And then when surplus was created, selling that surplus or trading that surplus for something else. So differentiation of labor started happening, and that's how cities started forming in the 5th and 6th century BC. And then we see a large proliferation of urbanism in the 3rd, 4th century BC in different parts of the world. The best documented areas are in the Greek civilization, but also as we all know, the Indus Valley civilization was thriving. There was Chinese civilization and the Egyptian civilizations. All of them were thriving, and they had fairly large urban areas, right? And then in the 1st century BC, 2nd century BC, there were many cities that were established, Roman cities. And these cities were in many ways the first real urban areas, because they had lots of different kinds of activities, they had lots of different kinds of differentiation of labor, lots of different kinds of people living in these cities. And they were served by a large agricultural hinterland, and different kinds of crops were brought from the hinterland to these urban areas. Then from around the 1st century AD to around the 10th, 11th century AD, at least in Europe, there were not many urban areas. There were some forts and some palaces, but not many urban areas. And in the Chinese civilization, there were some cities, and in India also there were some cities. But by and large, most people lived in rural areas. And the cities where they existed were primarily seats of political power, not so much economic forces. So cities were really not very economic forces for many centuries in most parts of the world. And then in medieval Europe, trade started taking off. More progressive settled agriculture started happening, and city-states started forming in medieval Europe in the 14th, 15th centuries. And then a big reason for the spread of cities was colonial expansion that started from the 14th century onwards. As some European countries went to many other places and started conquering those places, they built cities there, primarily to extract all the resources of the countries that they were conquering. Okay, they wanted to, like for example, when the British came and started conquering India, they established cities in some places, and in these areas they had large forts, they had large places where they could store goods, they could store cotton and grain and gold, silver, minerals, all these they were extracting from that colony, bringing it to one city, protecting it in one city, and from that city they were taking it by ships to their, primarily by ships to their country, Britain, France, Spain, Netherlands, all of them. So colonialism had a major role for urbanization. And then, but more recently, since the 1960s, since the 1700s, urbanization has been really spread and enhanced, not by colonialism, not by agriculture, but by the Industrial Revolution. Okay, so first the Industrial Revolution started in Britain and then spread to other countries in the world, and had a major role to play in the spread of urbanization. And urbanization in India today is also, in some ways, a consequence of the Industrial Revolution, has started about 300 years ago. So why does the Industrial Revolution have such a big impact on the on urbanization? So in Britain and most countries in the 1700s, well, I'll use the US as an example, okay, since that's more familiar with me. In 1700, late 1700s, if a farmer had 100 acres of land, and let's say he was cultivating cotton, the farmer was cultivating cotton, he would need about 400, 500 people to cultivate cotton on 100 acres of land. It was very, very labor intensive. And this labor was not very well paid. Sometimes they were not very happy with, often they were not very happy with the conditions. Productivity was very, very low. The Industrial Revolution initially devised lots of farming implements, okay, things that could be used in farms. When they came to farms, so the Industrial Revolution actually did not set up industries, did not set up factories first. They produced implements for farming first. When these farming implements were invented, they really increased productivity on the farms. So suddenly a farmer who had 100 acres of cotton did not need 400 workers. He only needed 10 workers. He could use these implements that were invented by the Industrial Revolution to cultivate, to sow the seeds, and to harvest the crop, and to consolidate the crop. He could all do by these machines. So the machines were expensive, but once you bought the machines, then you did not need a large amount of labor. You needed only 10% of the labor that you needed before that. So what happened was, Industrial Revolution enhanced productivity in the farms. The farmer could now, after he bought the equipment, the amount he could cultivate, even if he had the same 100 acres, he could do it at a much lower cost after he had paid for the equipment. So farms became much more productive. And simultaneously, a lot of farm labor was released. So this farm labor, if one farmer had 100 acres and he got rid of all these laborers, they would go to the next farm. And they might be able to work for 1 or 2 years in that next farm. But after that next farmer also bought this equipment, mechanized equipment, then they would not have a job there also. So slowly there was this huge surplus labor in agricultural areas. And the surplus labor was looking for jobs. They were leaving all the villages and they were going to other villages, going to wherever there was some possibility of getting a job. Now when agriculture became more productive, they were producing more of the product, they were producing more cotton. And rather than just trading it with their neighbors, so one farmer trading cotton for corn or wheat or rice, now they had enough cotton. They could trade some of the cotton for wheat or corn or rice, but now they could also send it to some other places. So they would send it to the nearest town. These towns became points of what's called break or bulk. So different kinds of corn from one farmer, corn from another farmer, surplus corn from a third farmer, was all bought to a town. And in the town, all the corn would be consolidated and then would be sent initially by ships, riverboats, ships to other places. And there, because of all this corn coming, more jobs were created for warehouses, for traders. So that first diversification of the economy started happening between farm and non-farm. First agriculture and then some laborers started happening. Simultaneously, the demand for farm equipment was increasing. And so rather than one person making one piece of farm equipment over 4 or 5 months, a few people got together and said, let's start a factory where we manufacture only farming implements. And slowly the number of such factories grew. So you had another diversification of labor. You had people making farming implements. So you have a group of traders and a group of manufacturers now, right? And then you have this group of farmers. Also, these farmers who had converted to, who had mechanized their farms, they realized their profits were much higher. And as their profits were much higher, they started demanding better goods and services to improve their quality of life. So when they had lots of laborers and they were working, they made some money. And they might have had, the richest farmer might have had a, they didn't have cars, right, 1700, so they would have a horse-drawn carriage. They would have a horse, and they'd put attach a carriage to that, and that would be their mode of transportation. And they would probably make the carriage themselves. And it would be, they are not specialized in making carriages, so the carriage would be okay, but not very fancy, and might not last very long. But as their profits increased, they would go to one town and they would say, well, they'd find some person who's making a good carriage and say, rather than me making the carriage, I'll pay you the money to make the carriage. So suddenly there was this guy sitting in the town who was making an income, now just making carriages. So this diversification happened, right? Making carriages. And this guy sitting in the town is getting these demands from many such farmers. So instead of making one carriage per month, now he's making 10 carriages per month, and so he had to employ some more labor to do it, and he had the surplus labor coming from farms whom he trained to help in making these carriages. So this labor released from the farms was absorbed in these other enterprises that were coming up in cities. And therefore, as this industrial revolution came to the agricultural sector, a lot of farm labor was released across the countries, wherever the industrial revolution came, and a lot of demand for non-agricultural occupations was created. And most of these non-agricultural occupations were concentrated in small settlements that became bigger settlements, became towns, became urban areas, and kept growing. Okay? So it's an economic thing. Now, a lot of people say that urbanization correlates with economic development. Okay? And we'll have another activity. So there are lots of activities, okay? So you won't have a chance to doze off. And so, sorry. So let's look at, does urbanization and economic growth go hand in hand? Okay, let's examine that. A lot of economists say it goes hand in hand, but let's examine that. So what I'd like you to do is I'm going to divide you into teams again, and these might be separate teams from the one you had before. And you look at, let's say, 4 points in time in that country. I'll give you different countries, 4 points in time. You can take any 4 points in time, okay? But you need to pick points in time where you can get data. So 4 points in time, where I want you to look at the level of urbanization in that country at that time. What percentage of the population lives in an urban area at that time, at each of those 4 points of time, and the overall GDP of the country at each of those points in time, and the per capita GDP of the country at 4 points in time, and then plot a graph. Okay? All of you know Excel, right? How to use Excel to plot a graph? Okay. So just plot a graph in Excel, and then explain whether GDP and economic growth and urbanization are related. Okay, is there a correlation? Is it a positive correlation or a negative correlation? Both GDP growth as well as per capita GDP change. Does it change with the level of urbanization? Okay. Okay, so let's form some teams. So you are number 1. Okay. Ashish, you're number 2. Number 3. Okay. Next to you, number 4. You're number 1. Okay. You're number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 1. 2. 3. 4. 1. 2. 3. Okay. All the number 1s.
You can include Adia.
No, she's the announcer. Okay. Then you can be number, one of the teams does not have. Okay. Okay. So you can be on that. Okay, let's see. One team has only 3 members, okay? So I'll put you in that team. Just a sec, when everyone stands up. So all the number 1s, can you just stand up? Okay, all the number 1s, go to the back of the room, and you look at Argentina. Okay, just for fun. Look at Argentina at 4 different points of time. Okay, all the number 2s, can you please stand up? Okay, all the number 2s, you look at Germany at 4 different points of time. Go to the back of the room to the left side. Okay, all the number 3s. Okay, all the number 3s, please stand up. Okay, all the number 3s, come forward here. Come forward here, and you look at India. You look at India at 4 points in time. Any 4 points in time, okay? But make sure that they are separate, like at least 10 years apart. Don't take 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, okay? Take at least 1 decade or more than 1 decade apart, everyone. These time points should at least be 1 decade apart, okay? Not 1 or 2 years, at least 10 years apart. Okay, and number 4s, who are the number 4s? Okay, and you join team 4, okay? You join team 4 and you look at Japan. Okay, any 4 time, at least 10 years apart. And take about 10 minutes for that, and then write a short, each team write a short report and the Excel graph, and upload it. There's a form for that. Upload it, okay? There's a Google form for that.
Yes.
Okay, so team 1, you're team 1?
We are team 4.
Team 4, you're making the graph right now. What about team 1? Have you guys made the graph? Still making it. Team 2?
We are having a problem, like the level of urbanization is in percentage and the GDP is coming in $12. So it's difficult to plot it in the same graph.
Change the scale. Different scales.
One is in
Or you make different, graphs.
we can make 3 different graphs.
Yeah, and also you can, once you have the time points, you can ignore the time points and plot urbanization versus GDP. X-axis could be urbanization, Y-axis could be GDP.
So that will work.
Yeah, so then you don't have to worry about the third variable, right? The year. Okay, take and then upload it, okay? Oh, the link has changed? Okay. Have you been able to upload your graphs? Uploading? Okay. Okay, so what I'd like to do is, each of the teams that did the graphs on GDP and urbanization. So let's go team by team, and each team, please share your findings. One person from the team. So this is the India team, right? So who's the India team? Okay, so one person from the India team, can you please share what you found in your research?
Sir, in basically, in population,
Yeah.
first graph is urbanization.
Right.
That shows the growth of the urbanization in 1990s to 2020 in every decade.
Yeah.
The urbanization growth is basically approximately 3 to 4% increasing per decade.
Yeah.
In 1990 is 25.55%,
Yeah.
or currently for the 3% to 4% decrease, then it's come to 2020 34.93%.
Yeah.
Then in GDP it's increasing 3 to 4 times, 3 times, approximately 4 times in 2000 to 2010. In 2000. Hello. In 2000, the GDP is 0.48%, and in 2010, it's 4 times increase, and it's come to 1.67%.
Okay.
And same trend also following the per capita GDP, which is shown the approximately 4 times increment in 2000 to 2010.
Yeah.
In 2000 is 460 GDP per capita, and in 2010 is come up to 1400.
Good. So you would agree that urbanization has and per capita GDP growth go hand in hand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And the graphs show very clearly, right?
Yes, sir.
As urbanization has increased, but GDP per capita GDP has grown so much.
Yes, sir.
From 1990 to 2020.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
and so generally urbanization is good, but let's see what other countries. Which are the other countries? We had a group doing Brazil, right? Which is Brazil group? Okay. So will someone from Brazil present their graph? And Ashish, could you pull up the Brazil one?
Anyone from Brazil group? I think it was Germany.
It's Germany? Okay, Germany. Anyone from Germany group? Okay, can you bring up Germany? Yeah, I don't remember which countries I said, okay? It's just
This is
random.
not the graph that we have made. Can we start? Yeah. This is for Germany, and this is a graph which is showing the level of urbanization from the year 1991 to 2021. So there's a positive increase in level of urbanization. 1991, 73% of Germany was urbanized, and it increased to 78% in 2021.
Not much, not like India, right?
Not like India, it's kind of slow.
Yeah,
And if we compare it to the overall GDP,
yeah.
you find that there's a positive increase in the GDP as well, which is going simultaneously with the level of urbanization.
Yeah.
Like in 1991, the GDP was $1.87 trillion, and it increased to $4.35 trillion, almost a threefold increase in the GDP. So it's going at par with the level of urbanization.
Yeah.
And the third one is for per capita GDP. It has increased from $23,560 per capita to $51,200 per capita in the year 2021.
Right.
So there has been a positive correlation between the level of urbanization, the overall GDP, and the
Per capita GDP, yeah.
Yes.
Great, fantastic. Which is the third country? Which are the other two countries? Does anyone remember? So, sorry? Argentina, okay, Argentina. I don't even remember which countries I said, okay? I'm just calling out different countries. So, anyone from the Argentina team, could you please share what findings, your findings?
The second one in the board.
Second one, so AG, Ayush. Yes.
So, what we observed that the population was in increasing order only, and there was more of the population growth between 1980 to 1990, and the same and the per person GDP and the overall GDP also increased, but in 2020 it was less than 2010. It was as per 2000s. So we don't know the exact reason for that decline, but this is what we observed.
But what about urban population?
So the urban population increased, in 2020 the population increased by 50 crores,
Yeah.
but the per person GDP dropped by $150 US.
Okay, so the population column is actually urban population, that's what
Yes,
you're saying?
yes,
Okay.
sir.
Well, as proportion of the country's population, how much was it?
So that we didn't find out.
Oh, okay, okay. No, that's fine, that's okay. So that's Argentina. And so urban population increased, I'm assuming percentage also increased, we don't
Yes.
know why. So between which year to which year
2010
has the
to
GDP
2020.
gone down?
2010 to 2020.
Okay. So I don't know.
Maybe because of COVID, they also 2020 they included into this. So
No, it's because Argentina's economy has been in very, very bad shape
Okay.
since 1990. And sometimes, like supposing if I were to buy a car in India and I'm paying monthly installments, right, to buy the car, and I lose my job and I can't pay the monthly installment, then the bank or the car company will come and take away my car, right?
Yes.
For Argentina has not been able to make its payments 4 or 5 times. So the country as a whole has defaulted on its payments. So that might have affected its economic growth, especially between 1990 and 20. Most of it happened between 1990 and 2010. So I don't know why the number has come down after 2010, but Argentina is an economy that has not been doing very well. So. And it's actually very sad because in 1900, so 120 years ago, it was the number 2 economy in the world. Argentina was the number 2 economy in the world in 1900 after UK. Now US was not US was not in the top 5 in 1900, in the year 1900. Okay, and the fourth, which is the fourth country?
Japan.
Japan. Okay, Japan.
Yes.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
If you will see the graph, then you can identify that the GDP has been increasing, and the graph has been made. If you can see the x-axis, it's 10 years gap.
Yeah.
So the GDP was increasing, but when urbanization is in increasing rate, that the red one, and the GDP growth is initially it's increasing and it's declining. I don't know the reason behind that one, but we got the details like this one. So.
Okay, good. No, that's interesting. And it may be because Japan has been facing stagflation for a long time, right?
Yeah, even we were looking for the different like options like why it is less. Usually we found that with increasing number of GDP or urbanization will also increase or vice versa.
Yeah.
But here it's not like that.
Yeah, it's not like that. Yeah. So urbanization is happening, and GDP per capita, the change is not happening, but the GDP per capita is still quite high, right?
Yes.
Per capita.
Yes.
So generally you would find that proportion of urban population, not the actual urban population, but the proportion of population that is living in urban areas is positively correlated with GDP and per capita GDP, generally for most countries. And if it isn't, there are some explanations. Like in Argentina's case, I'm guessing it is a default, country default. Country has defaulted on its obligations many, many times, okay? And in Japan's case, it might be stagflation, but it's a number 4, number 5 economy in the world, right? Even with all this, even though its GDP per capita is not growing. And recently, GDP per capita in Japan is growing. You know why? Not because the GDP is growing, but because the population is not growing enough. So the base is shrinking. It's one of the, Japan, Russia, there are several countries where the population growth rate is less than 2.2, right? And therefore, you don't have the replacement of the population. So 2.2 is the replacement rate. They're less than 2.2.
But now the GDP is not growing in Japan.
It's not growing much.
It's going down also. Even their exchange is also going down.
Yeah, its exchange rate is also going down. But still they are the number 5, number 6 economy in the world, right?
It's there, but very soon it will be turned over by some other countries.
It will be ultimately because they have aging population.
And people also say this thing, in order to visit the Japan, this is the right time because their economy is not so strong.
Yeah.
So exchange rate is very low. So
Right,
you can very easily move around here.
Right. So good. So as you see that there are some variations from this, but you can see India, you can see Germany, all of them. Generally, GDP growth rate and urbanization growth rate have a positive correlation. Now, can we skip from this? To go back to the front.